Oh, well, good evening and good afternoon, everybody. Late afternoon, early evening. So I tried a couple of times beforehand to get on, but I couldn't for some reason, and I don't know why. So anyway, I want to get into it pretty quickly. Kind of strange not looking at myself with glasses. I went to the eye to get my eyes examined and got some contacts that I like a lot better than the one I had before. So um, I wanted to come on here because I did a live today, this morning, on Facebook about what was it about? It's talked about the tariffs. My gosh, I can't remember what I was talking about. Do I have it here? The article? Did I keep it? That's not it. Oh, State of the Union address coming up on Tuesday. I did that. I found a really good article on that. Who did that? Maybe I'll show it. I forget who did it, but I thought it was really good because I kind of agree with what this woman had to say about President Trump and which President Trump is going to show up on Tuesday. So I can get into that later. But I wanted to just, I was trying to find just short videos of Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee in that interview because it was like a couple of hours long and I didn't want to watch the whole thing. And, but I was trying to get a gist of it. And I saw the intro of Tucker Carlson and his channel on YouTube and what he said about it. And apparently, he had some issues just even before the interview was going to be conducted, and he was having trouble with the U.S. Embassy trying to get security that they would not give him. And they finally did, and but they were giving him a hard time. And so he finally met Mike Huckabee at the airport, and he said it was really dingy and I stopped it there. And because he was detained, as Tucker Carlson said, and on, because he's been called names. Tucker Carlson, with the Knesset of Israel, has been called a enemy of Israel, along with Candace Owens. And they don't like anybody that is Israel, and the Zionists do not like anybody that criticizes or asks questions about what Israel is doing. Gee, I wonder why. So, you got names, anti-Semitic, and all that stuff, and now you can't say anything about Israel. But hey, you know what? They can say whatever they want. That is, the Zionists can say whatever they want. But anybody that questions what is going on in the Middle East, in particular Israel, oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that. So, no, but that's not right because we have the First Amendment right of free speech, and if it ever went to court, they would lose because the law in this country is the Constitution. So I don't think they would win. Now, I found some short videos of this interview, and I wanted to show it because it just, for me, it just goes to show you with the Trump administration that they're not really. I don't think President Trump is really thinking about this country. I think he has his mind on the Middle East. It's too much so that we are being neglected. And it shows. To me, like for me, it shows. And with the tariffs yesterday, with the ruling that the Supreme Court found some of his or most of it or whatever it is, his tariffs unlawful according to the EPA. But I don't understand why he went that route because there are statutes that he can impose tariffs. So I don't know what that was all about myself. Now I want to go. Here are the excerpts. Wait a minute. I have to share it. Here it is. Okay. All right. So here are some of the excerpts that I was looking at, just trying to get. Um, Here, I think
I really got
the whole interview right here, like it's almost 3 hours. This is 7 minutes. I want to see what she has to say about what really happened with
Yeah,
this
so this
interview.
interview happened between Tucker Carlson and U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, and it happened just in a matter of hours. It didn't last very long. Understand you were instrumental in bringing that together.
You know, I was having lunch with Tucker, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was showing him pictures from Israel. And he said, God, I'd love to go. And I said, let's go. You should come. And he said, I don't know. You know, there's been a lot of tension. I'm not sure I would be welcome. But he said the president himself had urged him just the day before, go to Israel, go see the prime minister, try and smooth this over. Like this whole thing has gotten, you know, really dicey.
And this is President Trump you're referring to.
Yes,
He's telling you
yes,
that.
this is what Tucker told me. So I said, well, if the president wants you to go, you know, you got to come. A couple of days went by and he said he had reached out to the prime minister and the prime minister had not returned his phone call, was not, you know, very excited about, I mean, you know, whatever, didn't call him back. I'll leave it there. I don't know what the reasoning is. I had said to the ambassador, who also thought the whole idea, you know, is if you come to Israel and you actually experience it, you have a different point of view. And the things that Tucker has been saying recently, I know the ambassador for sure does not feel like are accurate reflections of what is going on here. So he had said it would be great to get him over. And I said to the ambassador, well, you know, the whole thing stalled. It's up to you. He reached out via X and said, why don't you come talk to me? Tucker, to his credit, said absolutely. The negotiation started from there. I was not in on that part. It ended up being at the airport for whatever reason. I don't know. You know, Tucker's in Europe doing a lot of interviews and different things. They came in, and it's going to be on Tucker's network. And I'll just say, you know, it was fascinating. It was a lot. You know, Tucker asked a lot of questions that I know Americans are asking. And, you know, Ambassador Huckabee really corrected him on things that he's heard Tucker say that just aren't accurate about how Christians are treated here in Israel. It was tense at times, for sure. But hopefully, you know, the president wants.
Yeah, so this interview happened.
So
Extraordinary Homes.
So what she's talking about, about how the Christians are treated in Israel. I have seen videos where Christians are assaulted and spit on like a daily basis in Israel. If they know you're a Christian, they will not treat you nicely. And Huckabee says that that's not true. Of course, Netanyahu says it's not true, and that it is the only country in the Middle East that Christians are treated fairly. I don't believe that myself. I just seen videos where that doesn't seem to be the case. Let me see what else. You know, she doesn't really say too much about this interview, but you know, this it's very revealing how Mike Huckabee thinks of Israel. He serves Israel, is my point. He absolutely serves Israel. That's it's not America. He's supposed to be the ambassador for this country to Israel. But the only thing he thinks about is what Israel needs, what it wants, anything at all. And when I was listening to a part of the interview, their standard of living, Israelis' standard of living is much better than ours. They have a lot of free benefits that, thanks to us, because we give them military aid so that they don't have to spend money on that, so they can spend it on other things like they have universal health care, free education, and on and on and on and on it goes. And we don't. We don't. And as a matter of fact, Medicare after 65, you have to pay a premium over $200 every month that is taken out of your Social Security check automatically. This is outrageous. This is just outrageous. And people need to speak up. we need, and I've been saying this now for a little while, we need to stop sending money abroad. It needs to stay here so that we can have universal health care and have what we need, not other countries. I'm going to continue with this. Let me see if I can. It's always
Deserve
ads.
remarkable appliances. At Electronic Express, we pair the finest brand.
Yeah, so this interview happened between
Return his phone call was not, very or accurate reflections of what is going on here. So he had said it would be great to get him over. And I said to the ambassador, well, the whole thing stalled. It's up to you. He reached out on Tucker's network, and I'll just say, it was fascinating. It was a lot. Tucker asked a lot of questions that I know Americans are asking. And, Ambassador Huckabee really corrected him on things that he's heard Tucker say that just aren't accurate about how Christians are treated here in Israel. It was tense at times, for sure. But hopefully, the president wanted it to kind of turn down the heat. I'm not sure that was achieved. Maybe it was, but there you go.
Does it seem odd that he was here? He was at the airport, yet he just flew back out rather than actually going in and experiencing something because Tucker's been here before?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been great. I know.
I would say it was strange, to say the least, how Tucker Carlson was treated when he went to Israel. And I want to go back to, let me see if I can go back and get, yeah.
Yeah,
So who are God's chosen people? And I'm sure I know what Mike. This is short. Okay, this one right here, because this one's
Really
over 2 hours long. But I don't know if he cut it off or what. It's got 1.7 million views. The evangelicals and how they think Israel is, and that is the Holy Land and the chosen people, which is a big farce, by the way. Very big farce. Now, Tucker Carlson asked him, it got into what happened in Gaza.
During Tucker Carlson's kind of contentious conversation / debate with U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, the topic of land rights came up, obviously. That's usually front and center when it comes to the ongoing conflict between Israel and pretty much everyone else in the region. And so in order to justify the mass slaughter campaigns and land theft from Palestinians, Israelis claim that they're, the original Israelites from the Bible and that they have a biblical right to that land. So Tucker.
Evangelicals. That's the game that they play.
During Tucker Carlson.
That's the propaganda that they use, Israel that is that they use that they have a right to be there because they are the original Israelites. I don't think so. That is up for debate for sure.
It's kind of contentious conversation / debate with U.S. slaughter campaigns and land theft from Palestinians.
Descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct? Yes.
Land. So Tucker Carlson challenged Huckabee on that. Let's take a look.
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct? Yes. Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean, maybe it would be.
What do you mean? It would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that. If you believe the theology that you've just explained to me.
Would we do that all over the world?
Well,
and everybody
this is the only country in the world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land.
What about people who convert to Judaism? Would they have a right?
No, they wouldn't have the right. They wouldn't have the right to go into a country on land that doesn't belong to them and literally ethnically cleanse it and steal it from the Palestinian people. No, they wouldn't have the right to do that. That's my take on it. But hold on, Cenk. Then Huckabee says that it would actually be fine if Israel took all of the Middle East. Take a look.
You have
Go
said
ahead.
it 3 times
Okay.
that God gave this land
Yeah.
to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times.
Mhm.
And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Yeah, he is one of the worst people on the planet, and he's a traitor to the country. And I'm talking about Mike Huckabee, of course. I also want to clarify that the theology that Tucker is challenging him on is not theology that he believes in. He's just challenging Huckabee on what he claims he believes. And it's a cult, guys. It's literally a cult, a death cult that thinks it's okay.
I have to ask, especially if you're an evangelical, if you think that Mike Huckabee is right about what the Israelis are doing in the Middle East. Do you think that his perspective is right, that in Genesis, that God gave the land to present day Israel? Do you believe that? Because I find it to be propaganda. I don't see that anywhere. And once again, the Bible is not talking about land. It's not talking about anything tangible. It's talking about the spirit, intangible. It's not about the land, like the Zionists want people in this country to think, because they're brainwashed into thinking that our money should go to Israel, and which I have to say probably trillions of dollars has gone to Israel, which should have stayed here to take care of the people in this country, not the people of Israel. They're doing fine. They don't need our help. We're the ones that need it because our money is going elsewhere. Fraud, waste, and abuse. And this propaganda that is continuous, goes on every day in this country, making people think, not as many as before, that it's biblical to send money to Israel, that it's biblical. No, it's not. And they don't think so either. They're playing you. They're playing the people that think that the Holy Land and the chosen people belong to the people that are there right now. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay to steal, to slaughter untold, numbers of innocent people in order to take over land that doesn't belong to you. That is what he's advocating for. And he prances around pretending as though he is a good, moral Christian. No, he's a demon, okay? Bad people advocate for garbage like that. But I'm curious what you think, Cenk. Do you think that genocide and land theft is okay if, your mythology somehow buys into that?
Well, look, he's not the only one saying that.
Yeah, there's a lot of demons in the world, I know.
Yeah, no. What I mean is historically, every time an imperial empire or fascists come into power, they always say that they have a genetic right to the land. That's literally what the Nazis said. They said we have a right to the Sudetenland, to Poland, to Austria. Those are our birthrights because of our genes. Israel is making an identical argument, saying we have a genetic right to this land. I'm gonna come back to that in a second, but that's why Tucker asking that question to Huckabee makes sense. Well, who has the genetic right? Because if it's a genetic right, put aside the fact that that's a fascist proposition to begin with, but don't we have to know who it is then? Like, what if I raised my hand and said, okay, I'm now Jewish, I have the right to all of that land, okay? Well, they say that's absurd. No, we're not gonna give it to you. Well, why not? Well, because you're not Jewish, you're not genetically Jewish. Or well, then let's find out who is, right? Okay, now the reality is you don't have to do any of that because there is no genetic right to land. That's insane. And again, literally fascist. And so in this case, Anna, Israel did this propaganda in America, and it worked brilliantly. And strategically, I gotta give them credit for it. What they wanted was they wanted the Christians to be on their side, right? So they said, oh, the Bible says that we, not you guys, and not the Palestinians, not the people who live there, not anyone else, but we all have the right to that because that's what Christianity wants. That's what the Bible wants. That's what Jesus wants, right? Now, that was a giant lie. And by the way, if we're doing it like that, okay, well, are we gonna go back into the Bible and go, okay, wait, which land now belongs to the Canaanites? How come there's no talk of the Canaanites, right? So I mean this, and then what if the Muslims go, okay, well, that's your religious belief. My religious belief is that the entire Middle East should be Muslim, including Israel. So I have a genetic right to your land. Oh, now we're at a crossroads, aren't we? We're at loggerheads. Because you don't do stupid things like genetic right to land. And of course, my favorite point is that we could always come back in, the Turks can, and go, well, brother, I had it all. So now I have the right to that land. And that's what leads to perpetual war when fascist monsters say that only their people, their ethnicity has a right to the land.
Do you agree with that? Because that's what they're saying. So I'm wondering if the evangelicals really do think that the Israelis are the only people that have a right to that land, because in the Bible it says so. But if you read the Bible, it does not say that. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. Once again, they're playing you. And they play us all the time. Every day. Every day. Every day. And if you question or criticize or wonder what is going on, you have to shut up. Because according to Laura Loomer, you have to shut up. Everybody has to shut up but Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer wants to say whatever she wants, but everybody else has to shut up. Like Tucker Carlson, like Candace Owens, like Kerry Prigine Bowler, Nick Fuentes, and on and on and on. These people all have to shut up because they don't agree and are actually probably telling the truth about what is really going on in Israel, and they just don't want you to know. They want that money to continue going to Israel while we have to keep working even after 65 years old.
And they can murder anyone they want and wipe them off that land. So when Tucker asked, are you going to help Israel wipe out everybody in the Middle East, from the Nile in Egypt to the Euphrates in Turkey? And you just heard the answer. And Huckabee's like, they should have it all. And of course, we should pay for all that ethnic cleansing, all that genocide, all that war. We should pay with not only treasure, but with our blood and not theirs.
That's right.
And that's another question. Do you think that America should once again go into war because of Israel against Iran for a regime change? And if there are boots on the ground, you know that there are going to be American men and women that are going to end their lives. We have to go through this again. Because I believe President Trump said no more new wars, if I remember correctly, on the campaign trail. What is this? What the heck is this? Why? Why are people so, I don't know how to say it. I don't even know how to say it. Why is it that they're so brainwashed when it comes to Israel? Especially the evangelicals, because like I said before, the Catholics are not taught this. It's not in their doctrine about the Holy Land and the chosen people. It's just the evangelicals that do this. And let me tell you, it works. It works. People actually believe what they are saying about the Holy Land and the chosen people in the Bible. They believe it. They believe it. And it's taken out of context. I don't think people understand the Bible if they believe that that's true. I really don't think so. Because it doesn't say that in the Bible. It doesn't. Read the Bible, go to Genesis, and see where it says that present-day Israel gets to have all of the Middle East from the Euphrates to the from the Nile to the Euphrates. Where does it say that? I mean, this is crazy. It really is. It's crazy. And to think that trillions of dollars, our dollars of the working American that pays taxes goes there while they live much better than we do. Much better than we do. When does this stop? When do people in this country wake up and stop being divisive, stop being political? I'm right, you're wrong, you're Republican, you're Democrat, you're blue, you're red, you're this, you're that. When does this end? And really get down to the nitty gritty of where our tax dollars are going that we work for and that we struggle to just have basics now. Like, when does this happen? They've got you all so tangled up, the people in this country, with their propaganda in the media, concerning Israel, that is, especially, that people are just like, whatever, yeah, I'm going to go out this weekend. I'm going to go get drunk. I'm going to go to the bar. I'm going to go drink. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. Yeah, go, you can. But the problems that we have in this country is not going, it's not going away. They're not going away. And they know it. I'm talking about the political class. They're putting it right in your face. Mike Huckabee is just putting it in your face. Yeah, I think Israel should have all of it. Yeah, I think America should help them. Yeah, I think America should give them money. I think we should go fight for Israel. This is crazy talk. Do you find him to be a traitor? Or do you agree with Mike Huckabee that we should send troops over there, once again, to fight Israel's wars? Never ends.
And so it doesn't matter what religious beliefs the people living in these, neighboring countries believe. If it were Mormons, if it were Christians, if it were Buddhists, we would hear the exact same propaganda about them as we're hearing about Muslims today. So just remember that as our airwaves and our print media will be full of all sorts of claims, making it seem as though the bad guys here are those who are being invaded, those who are being bombed, those who are having their land stolen from them, and their, in some cases, democratically elected leaders overthrown on behalf of Israel.
Yes. Yeah. I believe that this is absolutely true. There's no doubt about it. There's just no doubt about it, especially what's going on right now, like I said, with Iran. I want to go over to X, and I want to do who has, of course, a totally different perspective on this. As you know, and I've talked about this before with Laura Loomer, she stalks and targets certain people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, people that do not go along with this Zionist agenda. Laura Loomer is a total fraud. She's a fraud. And she colors her hair to make it look darker. She colors her hair so that people will think she's from the Middle East, and she's not. Her mother is not Jewish. I don't think she was raised Jewish. She was raised a Catholic. Her father is Jewish. So according to some Jewish groups in that religion, your mother has to be Jewish in order for the children to be Jewish. So if you're going to go by that, Laura Loomer is not Jewish. She is a fraud. She is not an investigative journalist. She does not do any type of journalism whatsoever. None at all. No stories, no investigative journalism at all. The only thing she does, as she puts it, she plays detective behind the computer screen. That's what she does. She cyber stalks and bullies people that criticize Israel, question Israel. She is a pro-Israeli propagandist Zionist. That's what she is. And that's all she is. That's all she does. She does nothing else. She does not. This woman is a total fraud. This is just once again a show, and this is all a persona that I don't know how she gets paid. I don't know who is paying her to do this. Mark Levin says that she is doing important work, and that important work is propaganda, pro-Israeli propaganda. That's what that is. So I'm going to read. I haven't read her X account. Then I want to go to Thomas Massey too to see what he has to say. But Laura Loomer with Tucker Carlson. Oh my gosh, here it is right here. Tucker Carlson pushes false claims about Israel's president visiting Epstein Island. I really don't think any of these things are false. That's why the Palestinians are living in dirt. LOL, hate will never prevail. God humiliates such people like yourself who believe in hate. Yes, absolutely. I agree. Listen, I mean, the things that she says, that's why the Palestinians are living in dirt. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This woman, she really needs to go. This account should not exist. She is a joke. She really is. This is why so many people suddenly hate Jews. This is once again propaganda. 1 hour ago, dumbass liberal Jews who advocate for genocidal Muslims and illegal aliens who literally want to murder Jews and ban our pets. Oh my gosh. I condemn all liberal, Muslim-loving Democrat Jews. I stand with Randy Fine. Of course you do. Randy Fine is just as bad, by the way. I don't know what she's talking about. The things that he says about Muslims are just disgusting. For a congressman, I can't even believe he's in Congress with the things that he said. I don't know what Laura Loomer is talking about here. But when you have somebody like Randy Fine, who is Jewish, that says things like that, how can people stand this? This is totally prejudice and discriminatory. I have to shut the window here. I forgot to do that. So it's a little quieter. Randy Fine, this is a sideshow. This is the sideshow of President Trump and his administration. This is what happens on the side. So you got his crap on Capitol Hill and what he's trying to do with all the Zios around him. And this is the other arm of it, which is Laura Loomer, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, propagandizing Israel, pro-propagandizing Israel. So that their narrative that they're trying to control in social media is that they're trying to brainwash us into thinking that what Israel is doing is fine. And what is really going on, we don't know, because a journalist like Laura Loomer doesn't tell you. She doesn't tell you anything at all. All she does is talk about Muslims. That's it. More Jew haters coming. Wow. I mean, this is really unbelievable. This propaganda campaign is really something else with Laura Loomer. It's all she does. Do you call this journalism? Do you call this investigative journalism, what she's doing right now? Or do you call this more like targeting certain people, like the Muslims? There is a full-blown Islamic takeover of American politics happening. This is real. This is really unbelievable what she says. It's AIPAC that has taken over American politics. It's not Islam. It's the likes of people like her that have taken over. Who's got access to the Pentagon? She does. What Islamic person has access to the Pentagon, right? Who are the Islamists that have taken over American politics at the White House? Who are they? Who are the Muslims that have taken over? I don't see anybody, but I do know that she's there. I know Laura Loomer is there and others as well. I don't know of any Islamists that have taken over American politics. This is propaganda. Once again, propaganda. Calling them Jew haters. How does she know? How does she know that they're Jew haters? What starts with anti-Israel candidates will soon be anti-Christian, anti-Jewish, and anti-white. No. A new progressive group is promising to spend at least $10 million to boost preferred Democratic candidates and counter pro-Israel groups that have spent tens of millions of dollars to shake party primaries in recent years. That's AIPAC. Yes. It's okay for them to do it, but if somebody else does it, Laura Loomer has to call them all these kinds of things. What Laura Loomer and the Zionists fail to understand or don't want to understand is that there is a movement here that we are sick and tired of fighting Israel's wars and sick and tired of our tax dollar money going to Israel. And they continue to double down that we're supposed to, which just makes it worse, by the way. That's why it's anti-Israel, to counter pro-Israel groups. How about that we counter lobbyists like AIPAC and others? Because that's what it really is. A source tells me a group of GOP members of Congress have contacted the White House to request a meeting with Susie Wiles and the president to discuss Tucker Carlson's vitriolic hatred of Jews and his efforts to divide the GOP ahead of the midterms. Oh my God. It's totally reached a breaking point. Tucker needs to be condemned by President Trump and banished from the White House. GOP rep tells me anyone who demands all Jews be forced to take a DNA test belongs nowhere near the White House. This is such a joke. It really is. I mean, it doesn't take Laura Loomer very long to jump on the bandwagon when it comes to somebody in the White House denouncing Tucker Carlson. That she loves that. And by the way, not everybody agrees with what Laura Loomer's summary and what she thinks of Tucker Carlson. I mean, he's got a point. Don't you think he has a point? If the land belongs to the Jews, don't you think that we should know if they really do belong to that land or not? I mean, are we going to be fighting for people that come from Poland, like Netanyahu, whose last name is Milankowski or something like that, and not Netanyahu? He changed it like a lot of other people did in Israel, especially in the political class. They're not from Israel. They're not Semites. They're Europeans. That's what they are. That's where they come from. That's what this is all about. This is Zionism, and that's what Laura Loomer is protecting here. And who said that Jews have to be forced to take DNA? This is propaganda. This is rhetoric. It's not going to work. And here it is. Once again, look at this with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is a liability to the GOP and Trump administration. He is trying to sideline evangelical voters ahead of 2026 and 2028. It's long past the time for the White House to condemn Tucker Carlson. We need to know where they stand on his unrelenting hatred of Jewish people. Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee debated about Israel, with Carlson arguing that the U.S. is not independent enough from the Jewish state. Some Israeli leaders have expressed a worry about strains in their longstanding bond with American evangelicals. Yes, they should be worried. They should be. I hope that they are, because this nonsense has to stop. because our money should not be going to foreign governments, any foreign government, let alone Israel. But it seems like most of it goes to Israel in the Middle East. I don't know why. I have no idea why, but they're trying to find every excuse in the book to make sure that that money keeps flowing. And that is Tucker Carlson is the problem now. He's going to make the Republicans lose in the midterms and 2028 because they're not going to have the evangelical votes. How about this, Laura Loomer? Instead of saying that Tucker Carlson is the reason why, how about you criticize President Trump and tell him that he should be thinking about the 77 million voters that voted for him in 2024 to carry out America's first agenda. She doesn't talk about that, though. This is all about Israel. Laura Loomer is all about Israel. That's it. That's all. Tucker Carlson, once again, is a full-blown liar and a liability to the Trump administration. First of all, Tucker Carlson does not work for the Trump administration like Laura Loomer, I guess, does, because she's in the Pentagon and she's this journalist. I have only seen one question that she has done. I have no clue what kind of journalism she does. I don't have any clue what the heck she is doing here. None. Okay? And again, a fraud. This woman is a fraud. He planted a fake story about being detained. No, that was not fake. There was a video about that when the video clearly shows he was undergoing routine security like every other traveler. I don't think so, because what happened beforehand was not normal. You cannot believe Laura Loomer. She is a propagandist liar for Israel. She twists and turns the story in the favor, or she thinks it's the favor of Israel. Now she says it's debunked. Right. Listen to this. See what's going on here? Tucker Carlson just spent the last 2 weeks in Saudi Arabia, and immediately following his interview with Huckabee in Israel, Saudi Arabia is issuing a statement condemning Huckabee, suggesting he should be fired. Yes, he should be. I agree. Totally. Well, what's there to see here? What's there to see? I posted my scoop yesterday about Tucker Carlson was enlisting his supporters with scripted talking points calling for Mike Huckabee to be fired. Galloway, who was on the video violating sanctions and delivering bags of cash to Hamas, was a recent guest on Tucker's show where they, you guessed it, bashed the Jews. She's a liar. And don't forget, Obama also sent cash to, was it Iran or Iraq? I forget. This country, our country has done its job considering the Middle East. This is not Tucker Carlson. Okay, this is the country that is doing this. Okay? She wants to know where Pam Bondi is. She doesn't say anything about AIPAC. She doesn't say anything about AIPAC. Laura Loomer doesn't do any of that stuff. Here it is again. As I said yesterday, Tucker was working on behalf of Islamic countries to try to get. How does she know that he is working on behalf of Islamic countries? I just don't. She's such a pathological liar. It's not even a joke. She just blurts out things out there. She is just a propagandist. That's all she is. And the reason I believe that they want him fired is because he said that he believes Israel should take over the whole Middle East. Because what that means is that he's going to tell the president to help Israel take over the Middle East. That's what this is. But of course, she doesn't mention that. She doesn't mention that. This is ridiculous. What the hell are we doing? What is this country doing? What are we doing? I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. I want to go to Massey, and I want to see what he has to say on his X account. Where did it go? Not Amazon, not YouTube. Where is it? Where is the X account? Oh, here it is. All right. So where is Thomas Massey. Okay, here's Thomas Massey. Pesticides and pedophiles, why do both get immunity? Well, you did hear that, I think it's called glyphosate, something like that. The weed killer, the glyphosate, something like that. Well, that's okay now to use in our food that probably, is very, very bad for you and causes sicknesses. Well, President Trump has just given these companies immunity, so you cannot sue them if you get sick. And obviously, so the pedos have immunity as well. If you're not already registered to vote in Kentucky, the last day to register and be eligible to vote in Kentucky primary is April 20. Okay. I introduced the No Immunity for Glyphosate Act. Glyphosate Act. Yeah, that didn't work either. In other words, people can sue the companies that use it, which we should be able to if you get sick. Rand Paul says, in defense of our republic, the Supreme Court struck down using emergency powers to enact taxes. This ruling will also prevent a future president, such as AOC, from using emergency powers to enact. Yes, I'm glad that happened. I really am. SCOTUS made the right decision on tariffs. Yes, I did read that yesterday. And there was a good synopsis on that as well. One of the judges, they've deployed the ultimate weapon of mass distraction, but the Epstein files aren't going away, even for aliens. Can you believe this? President Trump actually posted this on social media. Talk about a distraction. Aliens? Since when did he talk about aliens? I want to read this. Based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, and unidentified flying objects, UFOs, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters called America. This is so dumb. And this is when he said on February 19 that he was going to introduce the No Immunity for Glyphosate Act, which did not. Do you want a U.S.-led war with Iran? Yes. Oh my God. Who in the world would say yes? Oh my God. No, I don't. I absolutely not. This is so different than Laura Loomer's account. Laura Loomer's account has got nothing to do with journalism. It has got nothing to do with what is going on in this country and the issues. The only thing she does is push pro-Israel propaganda, and she's always on point and stalking and targeting Tucker Carlson, as you saw. All those posts about Tucker Carlson and the Jew hater, okay? This woman really has nothing to do. She really doesn't have anything to do. Whereas Thomas Massey, very different. I want to go to Ann Vandersteel as well. She says Bill Maher wants to get rid of the State of the Union address because he thinks it makes Trump look like a king. Wait, is Trump the first president to ever do a State of the Union? Because by my recollection, 45 or 47 presidents have given at least one State of the Union message. 21 Democrat presidents have given at least one State of the Union address. And Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution says the president shall, from time to time, give to Congress information of the State of the Union. So why is it a crime now, Bill? The Sergeant at Arms announces the president, like they have for every SOTU since forever. But suddenly, under Trump, it's kingly? Give me a break. The left screams Trump is a dictator while ignoring that Obama, Biden, and Clinton all did the exact thing. They hate him so much they want to erase American rituals just to spite him. Pathetic. Isn't he Jewish? Isn't Bill Maher Jewish? President Trump is going to be the most Zionist president I have ever seen. And I don't know why Bill Maher would say something like this, unless he's trying to cause problems. What is this? One of the most unbelievable and pathetic commercials I've ever seen is one begging for money for female Holocaust survivors who are dying of hunger today in Russia. Seriously, 80 years after the war ended, apparently, Galina has been freezing and starving since 2018 when I first saw the commercial. The International National Fellowship of Christians and Jews charity sends a camera crew to capture her suffering, but somehow they never end it for her. But if I give them just $25 a month, Galina will be saved. And the audio under the begging is Galina crying about how hungry she is while showing us a frozen pot of slop that's supposedly all she has to eat. They even had Mike Huckabee grifting for them at one point. maybe it's just me, but there's no way I can believe we live in a world where this situation exists in 2026. Anyone else seen this? Yes, I have seen that. You know what? They're they're only about money. That's it. I'm telling you. A lot of these so-called charity organizations, I don't think it goes where it's supposed to go. Kenny built his position over time for himself and his sons, hundreds of thousands of shares across 3 accounts, not a whale, a father, a custodian, a man planning a future. He watched these accounts reach 7 figures. He believed in the system betrayed him. Oh yeah, of course. Big Pharma pushed Ozempic and Metformin to women, but there's a natural alternative that supports I would much rather do a natural alternative. Of course he has, because a legitimate opponent is Doc Pete Chambers, and he's such a threat to the establishment that he is facing social media pages being taken down as we speak. Vote for Doc Pete Chambers for governor of Texas. Interesting. I hope that more and more candidates are going to come out that are going to be putting America first and stop with this Israel nonsense like Laura Loomer has on her account. This propaganda about Israel and that we have to keep funding them and their wars has got to stop. It's got to stop. And people need to be aware of what is going on a daily basis in this country. When you go to church, if people go and are evangelicals and go to church, you need to be aware of pastors or preachers, whatever you call them, that talk about Israel. It's got nothing to do with the Bible. It's got nothing to do with the Bible. And you know, a lot of the young kids, the 20s and 30-year-olds, they're moving away from evangelical teachings because of Israel and going over to Catholicism because they don't. And they don't. A lot of them are also going to Orthodox Catholicism and the Roman Catholic Church. They're moving over there because, like I said, they don't talk about Israel and the people being chosen and the Holy Land. This is insane. It really is. It really is insane. I hate some of Trump's endorsements. Just in, President Trump endorses Greg Abbott for governor of Texas. That's who we got to get rid of. That's who we got to get rid of. Unfortunately, who President Trump endorses needs to be changed. It really does. It really does. It needs to stop. What President Trump is doing and what he stands for is about the Middle East. And we need candidates that are going to think about us and are going to think about our tax dollar monies that stay here and not go elsewhere. And we have to start somewhere, guys. We got to start somewhere. All right. Well, let me see. It's been an hour. There's a lot of things that we can talk about. And I haven't looked at my notes, but I just wanted to talk about Mike Huckabee and his interview with Tucker Carlson. And you saw Laura Loomer, all her posts were about that interview. And you can make up your mind for yourself if you want to go listen to it. And I totally disagree with Loomer's assessment. She's a liar and a pathological one at that. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just a joke. I don't know what she does. I don't understand it and never will. And I'm going to end it with this right here. We have to stop endorsing candidates that Trump wants because they're all about AIPAC. And we need other candidates that are not going to be putting Israel first and sending our money there. It has to end. And it's going to start with us. And we have to vote these people in. And maybe in November of this year, the midterms, maybe a message will be sent. hopefully. All right, you guys have a good night. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.